discussed it. That is, job order means the separate orders and separate treatment of the material, labor, and overheads for that, and separate accounting would be done. So, job order costing system, the definition is a cost accounting system records manufacturing activities using a perpetual inventory system which continuously updates records of cost of material, goods in process, finished goods, and inventories. This is basically what the basic definition of job order costing is. That is a separate account for all the jobs, all the orders maintained, and in each job there would be separate accounting or separate recording of material associated with that job, labor, and overheads. Examples, if we see the examples would be like synthetic football fields, special order machines, or a factory building, custom jewelry, wedding invitations, or an artwork. These all comprises as a job orders in which separate material, separate labor, and separate overheads are maintained. Now see this cycle. This is very much similar to that cost accounting cycle that we had discussed at the beginning in the basic concepts of the managerial accounting. So this is basically what? This is cost accounting cycle. What is being done here? Materials, as we had earlier discussed, that materials comprised of two things, that is direct materials and indirect materials. Direct materials are going to the into the goods in progress process, and indirect materials also go into the goods in process but via overhead of cost, because indirect material, indirect labor, and itself the expenses are classified as what? Overheads. This is the story of material. Similarly, labor that is payroll. It is direct. Direct goes to the goods in process, and indirect via overheads goes to the goods in process. And overheads itself, that is expenses. They all form the goods in progress. After that process is run, some goods are completed as the finished goods. It means that job B15, B16, and B7 have been completed, and as a classified, they will be classified as finished goods, and they will be ultimately delivered for sale. And these are not completed; they are still work in progress. That is work in progress inventory, you may call it, or just work in progress under job order costing system. Clear till now? Any issues?
Yes. No.
Basically, this what we have done. This is the just you may say recap and some other things to discuss. Otherwise, this chapter we have discussed in the basics. Okay, job cost sheet. What is basically job cost sheet? Let me give you an idea. As the name is implying that sheet means a chart which comprises what? All the jobs, where it is. All the jobs related costs. Jobs related cost. And what are the jobs related cost? They are material, they are labor, and they are array or and they are further classified as overheads. So a job cost sheet is basically a record purpose we use for the record purposes for recording all the costs related to the material, labor, and overheads in one sheet. This looks like that. This is a job cost sheet. It is a system generated job cost sheet or it may be a manual, or it may be in the form of Excel sheet, in which we have different, you may say, details: customer's name, address, job description, date promised when we have to deliver, date started, date completed, job number, city and state, and finally, these are the main things. That is direct materials data, direct labor data, and overheads data. Okay. Further, in this particular job, it is very important that it is only for the one job, that is B15. In B15, all that materials will be consumed, all that labors will be applied specifically for this job, and the labor overheads that is applied, factory overheads that will be applied, are recorded in this job cost sheet. Date-wise allocation, requisition, that is the invoice number, you may say, then the cost. The total of 600 of material was applied in completing this job B15. Similarly, the labor time ticket means the time machine, that is keeping the record, and the cost, labor works per rate multiplied by the time used, that is the labor cost. A total of $1,000 of the labor cost was applied. Similarly, overhead is applied on some percentage of the direct labor cost, that is 160%. So we have applied $1,600 of the overhead. Now, here another concept arises. If let you tell me, if we have applied this on some percentage, later when actual overhead will come, then what will be the two things we have to see and we have to adjust? Can you tell me?
We'll have to see if it's matching, or if it's not matching, we'll have to see if it's
From what? If it is matching or if it is not matching, what typical managerial accounting term is used for it?
I just had it in my mind. It's
what?
Overhead.
Uh,
I know the concept.
Yes.
When you were speaking about it, I just forgot the name right now.
Okay. Can you tell me that where it is adjusted?
Yeah. So basically, it's either gonna be more than
Yes.
the actual,
Or less.
or
Yes,
less
yes.
than the actual.
What actually that called is? Can I?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I forgot the name.
Oh yeah, it is over or under applied.
Yes, applied.
Yes. So we have applied overhead on the basis of direct labor hours, direct labor cost, that is 160%. And now when actual comes, it may be over applied or under applied. Then this over or under applied is adjusted. In which category it is adjusted?
In the cost of goods sold?
Yes, very good. It is adjusted in the cost of goods sold. So we have just computed here the total cost on the basis of applied overhead. After that, when actual bills, actual expenses will come, then we will adjust it finally. Okay. But basically what this is, it is just the concept of job cost sheet. The moment material is applied, it is recorded. The moment labor is applied, it is recorded. The moment overheads are applied, they are recorded. So this is the basic structure of the job cost sheet. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now the entries for this material requisition and issuance are that same which we had done earlier in the cost accounting cycle. That was basically cost accounting cycle for the job order cost. That is, you can see here, raw material inventory debit when inventory comes in, and accounts payable credit or cash credit. This we will discuss later when we will discuss this. Now after material is available in our warehouse, obviously it is issued for the production. Material is also inventory. So material ledger card is maintained. Material ledger card is maintained for two purposes: for receiving and for issuance. how much is received from the supplier, that is, this portion is for receiving, and for the process it is issued. The requisition, after requisition it is issued, so this portion is for issued, and this portion represents what? Balance. So can you relate it with our last topic of financial accounting? What is this basically?
Yeah, this is the inventory.
Inventory valuation. Similarly, because
Yes.
the raw material is also inventory, so this needs to be valued also. So this is known as material ledger card, in which material inventory is shown in the form of the balance, that is the closing value, and this is the receipt, and this is the issuance. Clear?
Yes.
So this not need to be discussed in detail. And for the managerial accounting purpose, this maintenance of material ledger card is also known as bin card. It is known as bin recording, bin card. Clear? This is the old,
Yes.
this is the old concept. Bin means that is basket, bucket, and something goes in and goes out. Therefore, it is also known as bin card. Now, this is what? It is the materials cost flow through the subsidiary costs. That is, we have received the materials, and after receiving that material from the supplier, we maintain a material ledger card, that is received, issued, and balance. After that, what is being issued, if it is a direct cost, it goes into the job cost sheet, and if it is an indirect cost, it goes to the indirect material, that is factory overhead ledger. Clear?
Yes.
So this is simple, nothing to worry about it. It is a form of material requisition, that is the internal document, that is the process in which material is being input. They will require that we will require such units of the material from the warehouse, please issue us. So this is a material requisition form. Entry is the same. When material is issued from the warehouse and into the process, goes into the process, goods in process or work in process is debited, and raw material is credited. Done.
Yes.
Now, what is the labor cost for those documents? Labor cost is usually a bit different, because in labor we are concerned with the recording there, basically the time spent on the job. That is known as the worksheet or time sheet or time ticket. That represents the work directly done by the labor. Indirect labor are also maintained. That is also basically they are also labor, and their time is being kept. Therefore, they are also known as time tickets. Now we have to bifurcate whether that time ticket pertains to the direct labor or that time ticket pertains to the indirect labor. If it is direct labor, it goes into the job cost sheet, and if it is indirect labor, it will goes into the factory overhead ledger. Now here the important thing is the time cost sheet. The format of the time cost sheet is just like this. It is the labor time cost sheet. What is in it? Employee name, employee number, obviously assigned by the company at the time of hiring. Then job number on which that labor is working. Now, if two or more laborers are working, then individual time ticket will be maintained for each labor, and accordingly their payroll will be processed, and their total cost will be inserted into that specific job. Clear? Now, when he started the time, 9, finished 12, total times taken, that is 3, and hourly rate for 1 hour is 20. So he has worked the 3 hours, then the total cost would be $60. And entry would be what? Goods in process, obviously debit, and now it would be factory payroll credit. That is accrued payroll, that is the payroll payable. Done? Any problem till now? Hello? Hello? Are you there? Let's continue. So we were discussing that the time taken for the labor. Till here, fine. Any problem?
No.
Then the entry, that is goods in process debit, and factory payroll, that is the payroll payable, approved payroll, it is credited. Now obviously, since we have made the records of material, labor, similarly all the factory overheads documents needs to be maintained. That is the expenses incurred in the that job, in the completion of that job. Material requisitions for indirect materials and labor time tickets for the indirect labors will also goes to the factory overhead record, factory overhead ledger. Apart from that, some vouchers. Vouchers are made for the expenses directly incurred. That is for fuel, for maintenance, for lubrication, and for cleanliness. They are all are known as expenses, that is factory overheads. Depreciation may be included in this. So if depreciation of the machinery is charged for the specific job, so it will also go into the factory overhead account. Then some adjusting entries, that is adjusting entries for any prepaid, for any unearned, they will all goes into the ultimately they will go to the expense and will be recorded in the factory overhead. And after that, all factory overheads are assigned. They will be entered into that job cost sheet that we have seen earlier. Entries would be same factory overhead for the depreciation. Instead of any expense, we always write what? Factory overhead. So factory overhead debit, accumulated depreciation credit. Factory overhead debit, utilities payable credit. In financial accounting, what we write, that is the utilities expense debit. So these all factory related expenses will be parked into factory overhead account. Done.
Yes.
Okay, this predetermined overhead rate we will learn in the activity based costing, so I am not discussing it here now. Summary of cost flows, this is the summary or the example or the we may say the master cost sheet for all the jobs. Now see, we have completed or we have the jobs we have in hand. That is job B15, B16, B17, B18, and B19. The materials, all that we have applied, they all came from that job cost sheet of the material of the B15 material account. That is this one, 600. This will be cross tallied by this master summary. Clear? Similarly, the labor
Yes.
incurred $1,000. Now, one thing needs to be discussed here is that we have applied first total overheads in all the jobs. That is 550 for indirect materials, for indirect labor 1100, for overheads 5070. These three makes a total of 6720. Now these 6720 are, now look carefully, this 6720 are applied on these all jobs. Now we have to specifically identify the proportion of that overheads of this overhead that relates to the job B50 or the job B60. So they are basically allocated on some basis, on the basis of machine hours used, on the basis of labor hours used. Whatever the case, the allocation we will discuss later in the next chapters of activity based costing. But the concept is that these overheads are finally in total, after getting in total, they are allocated on the different jobs in different forms. So the 6720 are allocated in job B15 in form of 1600, then 1280, 1760, 1120, and 960, and finally it will again become the total of 6720 of that overhead. Similarly, we have some goods in process as well. That was incompleted job, job B18 and B19. It was transferred to the finished goods B70, and the cost of goods sold of the B15 and 16 was ultimately 3,200 and 2380. So how these uh, amounts are arrived. Then this is the other overheads that are the direct overheads. Then total cost used in the production, all these costs, ending inventory materials, materials available, less beginning inventory and material purchase. We have shown all these things in one statement. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, now this is the T account. You can easily say that is the flow of entries which we had done earlier. If we made the T account, it will represent like this. That is material purchased, then material is used. Material purchased, if anything comes in, it is debited. And material used, that is, it is issued. So it will be credited. And when it is issued, it will go into the goods in progress, work in process inventory. So you can easily chalk out the flow through these numbers. Okay. And obviously, if you have any problem, do let me know. These are the same entries which we had done earlier in the basic cost accounting cycle. This is what we discussed earlier. That is adjustment of over applied or under applied. Over applied means that we have what? Over applied means
We have estimated more than the actual.
in over applied, actual is greater or lesser?
Actual is lesser.
Lesser. So we have to subtract it or add it. We will minus the difference or add.
We will minus the
We will
difference.
the difference will be adjusted in cost of goods sold. So we will minus it, means our cost of goods sold will become lesser
Less.
and our net profit will ultimately become greater.
Good.
Done.
Yes.
And reverse is for the under applied. In under applied, we will add that in the cost of goods sold, and ultimately while adding it, we will our profit will become lesser than earlier. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. This is now the adjustment in the cost of goods sold. Can you tell me it is which is this case? Over applied, under applied?
So cost of goods sold is being debited and the factory overhead is being credited. Um,
Basically, it was
Cost of
written
goods sold is being
debited means
debited,
cost is increasing. If we
increasing.
debit cost, means cost is increasing, and cost is increasing means we are applying we have under applied the efforts.
Yes.
Clear? Now you can see it. To adjust what? Under applied efforts. Done.
Yes.
This is over applied, and that's it. The chapter is end. Now what you have to do? Obviously, you have to give a reading at least and do this demonstration questions, problems, and match the solution. If there is any query, do ask me. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. What about the next is we will going to start a new chapter. I'm not starting it today. Just getting relaxed for today only, and let you know the next chapter what we are supposed to start. I think we are going for the Good pace.
Activity based cost accounting.
We have 2 extra classes this weekend. So we will cover another good 2 chapters. Where it is index.
On page 24.
Where is the capital budgeting relevant cost of budget, master budget, and performance? Where is the various analysis? Standard costing. I can't see the main uh, topic of the managerial accounting, standard costing, variance analysis. Let me find. Where it is, cost variance, standard cost, section 2. Okay, we will start basically chapter 8, but not chapter 8. Chapter 8, but not directly the section 1. We will discuss that part, standard cost. It is a very interesting topic. It involves IQ, not any concept, not any format, just an IQ, whether it will be greater, whether it will be lesser. So it is going to be a very interesting topic. And sometimes if we may say that if students do not get an idea of that question, then it is going to be very problematic. So we will start this topic tomorrow, and meanwhile you can do the process costing questions, process costing chapter, and job order question. Okay, clear? Hello. Hello.